And if you can see it, it is a trainer. It is a two-seat aircraft. The student sat in the front. The instructor sat in the back. It's powered by a 600 horsepower Pratt & Whitney radial engine with all 9 cylinders facing toward the center. In other words, the pistons all do their power strokes toward the center of a central propeller shaft and then connect directly to that shaft. There's John in the front seat of the Marines. We would call it an SNJ because that's what the Navy and Marines called it. It is an SNJ Texan called the Wardog. Yep, this is truly an historic event. Gotcha. And there we see the smoke. And he's just about ready to release the brakes. John had to ride a bike to the airport to take his lessons. At 16 years of age, he soloed, 5 different types of airplanes before he even had a driver's license. Look at the gear being sucked up inside as he keeps it right down there on the deck. The North American SNJ. John's career has spanned now 38 years, having logged over 14,500 hours and has flown more than 50 different types of aircraft, including the Goodyear blimp, the Columbia, that's the Goodyear blimp he flew, and also television's Airwolf helicopter. He's flown numerous airplanes from turboprops to jets for Northrop Grumman, which is an aerospace company, and as a corporate pilot there, he flew such notable figures as Vice President Dick Cheney, California Senators Barbara Boxer and Dianne Feinstein, and also former Secretary of Defense Caspar Weinberger. He's been a professional airshow pilot for 24 years as he gets ready for his aerobatic section of the program. He's flown more than 1,000 airshow performances, high-ranking military and civil events, including air shows at Edwards Air Force Base, Naval Naval Air Facility El Centro, Vandenberg Air Force Base, and of course, right here at Marine Corps Air Station Miramar. John's an experienced aerobatic instructor with high rankings in the International Aerobatic Gold Cup Championships, and he's also currently, I should say, an air show safety evaluator for the International Council of Air Shows. John and Wardog have been featured in numerous national and international publications and television programs and feature films, including Gypsy Angels, an action-adventure film from 1989 that starred Vanna White. The North American SNJ Texan, and in Turkey they still fly T-6s today, accelerating now through 160, 170, 180 miles per hour. John pulls back on the stick, and as he does, watch him go straight up into the sky as he goes over the top. An airplane that weighs about 2.5 tons, about 5,000 pounds. Beautiful roundhouse loop right there as he flies it for you. More than 30 allied nations flew this aircraft. And let's watch and listen to John Collver in the Wardog. that beautiful or what, ladies and gentlemen? Built in 1944, John Collver's Wardog was first stationed at Marine Corps Air Station in El Toro, Orange County. It was then sent right here to Miramar Air Station in 1946, and at one point, Wardog actually served as a carrier qualifying trainer on the USS Cabot off the coast of Florida. The paint scheme that Wardog wears today is a replica of the same paint scheme that she wore in her early days, serving both at the El Toro and Miramar bases. All the aircraft based at El Toro, and in Walt Disney's honor, all the aircraft based at El Toro carry WD for Walt Disney on their tails. This particular airplane was retired from the United States Armed Forces back in the 1950s. Then, it actually served as part of the Japanese Self-Defense Force until 1964. It was going to be scrapped in 1977. Before that could happen, Wardog was purchased and rebuilt to original condition by the Warbirds of West Compton, California, and John actually helped with the restoration of the aircraft and then eventually became its new owner. As I mentioned, it's got a 600 horsepower Pratt & Whitney engine with a supercharger on it, and the sound that you're hearing is actually not so much the sound of the engine, but that growl you're hearing is the sound of the propeller tips going supersonic at about 2,500 revolutions per minute. It's got a 42-foot wingspan, it's 29.5 inches long, and a maximum speed of 250 miles. Now John right there, as he banks sharply and pulls back on the stick and then pulls back on the stick once again, is experiencing more than 1 G. Standing here, Sandy Sanders, you and I experience 1 G. I weigh 180 pounds, but he has experienced at some points in his demonstration about 4 times the normal pull of gravity. That means he weighs 4 times his normal body weight. Some of the performers you'll see here today will actually experience G-forces 10 times their normal body weight for very short periods of time. You and I would be getting sick and blacking out in those kind of G-forces, but the pilots you'll be seeing here today can really put on it. There's about 5 Gs right there in that pull. Would you agree with that?
I would certainly agree with that, and a 200-pound person is going to weigh 1,000 pounds sitting in the seat on that pull-up.
That's a half a ton. That is a lot. And what happens is when you do that, you may have experienced, ladies and gentlemen, at the bottom of a roller coaster being pushed down into your seat, and you feel that force on you. That's more than 1 G. You might feel a G and a half or 2 Gs at the bottom of a roller coaster. But these pilots experiencing a lot more than that, and the blood wants to rush out of your head because with gravity, what happens? You lose your color vision, then you lose your peripheral vision, and eventually gray out and maybe even black out.
Absolutely. You know what? Something to really put it in perspective. How many people here, and I know we've all been on an elevator.
Yes.
You get on an elevator and you punch the door, your floor, and all of a sudden the elevator lurches up and your knees bend just for a few seconds.
Yeah.
You've probably been subjected to about 1/4 G. And to make it, again, in perspective,
1.25 G.
1.25 G. So let's just say that you weigh 100 pounds. You're a petite little lady. All of a sudden, you weigh 125 pounds.
Oh boy.
Now at the top, the elevator stops all of a sudden, and you feel like your stomach is coming up in your mouth. That's exactly what it's trying to do. And you now weigh, that 100-pound person weighs 75 pounds for just a split second. So that is kind of what's going on inside the airplane in relationship to the pilot with G-forces.
They can get 0 Gs or even negative Gs, which actually wants to force the pilot out of the cockpit. But right there, John Collver is doing a very, very special salute. 60th anniversary of this airplane, the Wardog. He says, "Thank you, Marine Corps Air Station Miramar, for having me back." He's experienced temperatures in that cockpit of up to 127 degrees Fahrenheit. And And in this demonstration, between 4 and 6 Gs is what he's got. All the performance today and all the maneuvers he flew would have been flown by military pilots. Began serving, as I said, with the United States Navy as an SNJ Texan, and now the Wardog, performing at many, many air shows all around. Dubbed the pilot maker, the T6, or the SNJ, or as we discussed earlier, the Harvard, as it was known by the Royal Air Force and the Royal Canadian Air Force, was there. He's got it up on one wheel. He's got some good crosswinds. The Royal Canadian Air Force and the Royal Air Force called it the Harvard. The Australian Air Force used it. They called it the Whirlaway. And as I mentioned, more than 30 allied nations continue to serve up into the jet era of the Korean War as a